Take 10. Top 10 things you should know before you apply for the United States Postal Service. My name is Lashara Zanae, and if you're new to my channel, I encourage you guys to like, comment, and definitely subscribe. If this video helps you in any type of way, I want you to definitely give me a thumbs up. I want to give you a little bit of the rundown of my backstory. Now, I will be giving you guys my advice based on what I think you may want to know before you apply for the United States Postal Service. Okay, first off, my backstory: I've worked for the United States Postal Service for 8 years. It was 8 years in November of last year, 2023, and I hired in as a CCA, which is a city carrier assistant, and I went career 2.5 years after I started. Now we will get into non-career and career later, but just giving you guys a rundown. I went career 2.5 years after I started. Not long after that, maybe a year or so after that, I considered going into management. So I let my current postmaster know at that time. That was approximately 5 years ago. I let my postmaster know that that was something I was interested in. Fast forward 2023, the end of January 2023, I finally got a postmaster that was willing to help me to advance in my career. They saw a letter that I had written to the previous postmaster, actually like a couple postmasters back. They saw that I had sent that letter, gave that letter to the current postmaster, and he asked me if I was still interested. Fast forward, I have now 204B, which is a acting customer service supervisor in 3 offices, the largest being a level 22 office, which is my home office. And but now I'm currently back on my route by choice. I'm currently back on my route and still enjoying being a city carrier. I'm gonna say a city carrier assistant. Lord no, those days are past me. But I have I really enjoy my job. As far as there was a time in my life where I didn't enjoy it. I got to a point where I kind of felt stuck. But I'm so grateful for my job, honestly, because there was a moment where I prayed for it. There was definitely a moment I prayed for my job, and I'm just very grateful for it because, just possibly I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for it, if that makes any sense. 10 years ago, I was making minimum wage at Walmart, $7.25 an hour. Of course, they went up a lot now, but that's where I was. And to be where I am now, I say 10 years ago. Was it 10 years ago? 9 years ago that I worked at Walmart? 10 years ago. It was still 2014. Yes, 2014. So 10 years ago, and fast forward here, I ain't gonna tell y'all what I make, but they pay me well. Okay. I'm grateful. I am grateful. Especially me. I am a 2-time college dropout, just being honest and transparent. So for me to be where I am today, I am very grateful. Now, so let's get started on the top 10 things that I think that you guys should know before you apply for the United States Postal Service. Okay, so first off, when you do apply, there will be the jobs, just knowing what they mean. So like I said, I started out as a CCA, and that's a city carrier assistant, but they also have RCAs, which are rural carrier assistants, ARCs, which are Amazon, they're Amazon workers, but I think it's what is it? but you're a rural carrier assistant basically, okay? As the ARC, but you're mainly for holidays and Sundays, okay? That is the only times that ARCs work. In some offices they may work more, especially during peak season. Even like when we just went through this ice storm here in Alabama, they worked the ARCs as much as they could because we were trying to catch up, right? So that was something that we've had to do, work the ARCs more. So there are more days that ARCs can work other than just Sunday and holidays, especially if you're in a smaller office and you want to get more hours. Most time the larger offices will use you during the week as well. So a PSC clerk. So a PSC is kind of the same. All of these are subs. So you're mainly going to be a substitute, right? Just like a substitute teacher. But one thing about it, a lot of times they'll say, okay, I know you're not guaranteed any hours. I think except for like a RCA, you are guaranteed to work the day that you're the sub for on that route. You're required to work that day for that carrier's off day. And I know in a lot of the offices, most of the subs work on Sunday. All the subs work on Saturday, but because that's usually the off day for the regular. But they do have off days that are other days during the week, and you will have to work, those days as well. RCAs most times are required to have their own vehicle because it's a rural carrier assistant, so you will be required. Some offices do work with you on the length of time that you may need to get a vehicle, but a lot of times you are going to be required to have your own. Plant employees. I did want to speak about plant employees because in the city that I work in, we don't have a plant per se, like in our city, but the largest plant I think is an hour away from here in Huntsville, and there are sorters and stuff that work in the plant. So I'm not sure how their jobs are because I've never worked in the plant for the post office, but I know that there are jobs in that arena as well if you're in a larger city. So let's go back to talking about the CCA, City Carrier Assistant. You are going to be not assigned to one particular route, but you do have the option. I'm not going to get into hold downs and all of that because I swear that would be a whole thing. So I'm not even going to get into that. Let's go to number 2. So number 2 is the hours or the shifts that you may be required to work, and also your off days, right? Okay, so for the most part, if you're an RCA or a CCA or even a ARC, an Amazon Sunday employee, it's usually day shift, right? But when I say day shift, that could mean up to 12 hours. I always tell people, be prepared to work 12 hours because honestly, you're not promised just a straight 8-hour shift. Our job is to get the mail out, and when you're quote unquote at the bottom, you have to work your way up into the point where you can have your own route, where you go career. So until you go career, you pretty much are there's not a great work-life balance. I'm not gonna lie. Until you are career, it just isn't. And that's just pretty much the way it is across the board. If that's been anybody else's experience, I encourage you to drop down in the comments and let everyone know what your experience has been as one of these positions, a CCA or RCA, a ARC, PSC. Let us know what your experience has been. My experience was that I was having to work basically first and second shift because it would be, you may go in at 8 a.m., but you may not get off until 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., So I would just expect that this to be your grind season. I always tell new employees, this is your grind season. This is what it is. You're going to make the money, but you definitely, especially if you have a family, you have to let them know, like, a lot of people think that, oh, I'll go work for the post office, it'll be easy, it'll be this, blah blah blah. This is not a quote unquote, it's the easiest, hardest job you'll ever have. Because it can become very overwhelming, but you have to know, hey, eventually you'll get it all delivered. Like, or eventually it'll be over. Especially, I'm not experienced as a clerk, so I don't even know how, that dynamic is like, as far as I know, they are overwhelmed and exhausted as well when it comes to certain days being harder than others. So I don't ever want to say like one job is harder than the other, but for me personally, I know more of the carrier craft because that's what I've done for 8 years. Okay, so I don't think I spoke about the off days as much. And you'll notice that now in the beginning, you can't necessarily just choose your off days, but when you don't have leave and you don't have a set off day, if you just talk to your supervisor, a lot of times they will work with you. If you need a day off here and there, they will work with you. But just try your hardest not to have to call out for anything, okay? That's a big thing in the beginning, like when you don't have leave and stuff. So but once you're regular as a carrier, city carrier, I know in my office in particular, because some offices do it differently, but we have colors. So like our off day changes throughout the week. And so like, say you start out, your color is red, and Monday's your off day. The next week, your off day is going to be Tuesday. Then the next week, your off day is going to be Wednesday. And then the next week is going to be Thursday. And then once you get to Friday, you have a long weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And you can really utilize your annual leave when it comes to that. Because say if your long weekend falls on Memorial Day Monday, you can take that Tuesday or that Wednesday, and then, hey, you off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and all you took was 2 days of annual leave. I'm here to teach y'all, okay? I'm just letting you know that I think that's a good thing, okay, when it comes to going career, okay? Number 3, non-career and career and EAS employees. Okay, so non-career, that's what you will be hiring in as, especially if you're applying for a city carrier assistant, a rural carrier assistant, Amazon, PSC clerk, or even at the plant. I'm not sure how that works. That may be different. But I know for us, everybody's hiring in as non-career. With the CCAs, I know that in the contract now, you can do 2 years and then you become PTF. Whereas you get all of your benefits. I believe you get annual and sick leave. I think you can start accruing sick leave at that point. But I know that CCAs can occur annual leave and RCAs as well. So that's non-career. After you go career, you will start receiving your thrift savings plan, your all of your insurance, your sick leave, annual leave, right? And you'll start receiving your raises and things on your steps, and we'll get more into that as well. EAS employees. EAS employees are supervisors, postmasters, and up. Once you're EAS, you can no longer be a craft employee, right? So once you go, I guess they call the dark side. Once you go to the dark side into supervising, then you have to kind of stay at that level. You can go up to a higher level, like a larger office or a smaller office or whatever, but you still have to maintain an EAS employee. And as an EAS, you do have access to apply for different jobs, as far as like in the post office itself. Well, not the post office, the United States Postal Service itself. So, you know, marketing division, sales division, you know, other sides other than just delivery. Okay. Next, number 4, union and grievances. Okay, so I want to speak about the union because we are, I am in a carrier union, city carrier union. There's also rural union. The clerks have a union, even the supervisors. So, or supervisors and postmasters. So, everyone is in a union. The union is there to help you. I do encourage you, if you apply and you get hired and you're in or you're new, I do encourage you to go to the meetings to just get information about what's going on within the Postal Service itself, just so you can be more knowledgeable about the crafts and about the rules and the regs, right? The rules and regulations within the Postal Service. You do want to kind of be knowledgeable of those things, especially if you ever decide to get into being a shop steward or get into the union, okay? Grievances, you know, the union does file grievances on your behalf. So that's why you want to kind of know when you're being treated fairly and when you're not being treated fairly, or, you know, things like that. But you also, especially in the beginning, you want to just know you're going to work. Just know you're going to work. I want to make sure, okay, because I'm going to touch on IIs and stuff as well. So just be knowledgeable about, you know, the laws and bylaws, right? All right, so next, number 5. So I want to speak about raises and pay scale. Everyone is different, right? The clerks are different than the custodians. The city carriers are different than the rural carriers, and so on and so forth. I know personally for city carriers, there is once you are regular, you receive your raises in steps. So, you know, you'll continue to go up until you're at a top out pay. And I believe top out for city carriers is $75,000. That's no overtime, no overtime, no anything, right? That's once you have topped out. That's 8 hours a day, you know, your straight time every day, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, no holidays, no anything. So, and you know, so you definitely have an opportunity to make a lot more money once you've gotten to top out. Now, with that being said, I believe it can take about 12 years until you get to top out, which is okay too, because you're at a point where your income is increasing yearly. I believe every year, I know it's every 10 weeks you get a raise, every 10 weeks, not 10 weeks, sorry, 10 months once your career as a carrier. Rural carriers and things, I'm completely not sure. I know that they get paid based on the evaluation of the route. So the size of the route is the way the rural carriers are paid once they are full-time. Now, one thing I do think about when it comes to the rural carriers and their pay, think about a rural carrier as of now, the way their contract is, they get paid based on evaluation, not based on hours. So if they can finish an 8 or 9 hour route in 5 hours, that means they only have to work 5 hours that day and they can go home. They don't extra. It's been my experience as far as them, that's the way their contract is written, right? Now, that also says when it comes to peak season, anything under 40 hours, I believe, they're still at evaluation. So even when we're in peak season and their 9 hour route may take them 10 hours, they're still getting paid at the 9. But for me, I think it kind of evens itself out, because if you for most of the year you're only working 5 hours a day and still getting paid for 8 or 9 hours, I think it works itself out. And hey, if y'all have seen it being different or have a different experience in that, drop it in the comments. Let them know. I'm not a rule carrier, so I can only tell them based on my knowledge of it. And I don't want to tell you wrong, so I'm just not going to get all up into it. You get hired on, find out. Go to the union meetings. Okay? I want to talk about relocation, transfer, and career growth. So, relocation. So, if you decide, hey, I want to get on with the post office, but there's no office in my area that is hiring. Okay, apply outside of your area. I applied outside of my area, and this was a tip that was given to me from a postmaster in a different city that I met just randomly before I ever got hired on. She told me, apply somewhere else. Just apply for that position that you're wanting, right? So that's what I did. I applied in an office 2 hours away from me. Now that allowed me to get in the process of the hiring process, right? So I already had my profile. I already had I think that other office had already I had already taken the test. I had already done my drug screening. I had already done my fingerprints, everything. By the time the job that I wanted, that I ultimately ended up getting in the city that I wanted, before it came available, I had already had all of these things already done. And when the job that I originally applied for contacted me for an interview, I just declined the interview. So that didn't hurt me. But once that other job in another office came available, I applied for it, and I was already kind of moved along in the system, if that makes sense. I believe that's what happened anyway. But with that being said, post 2020, I know that their hiring process is very different. I think now, I don't believe they're doing the drug test. Don't quote me, but I don't believe they do that anymore. Or even like the quote unquote interview. When we interviewed as a group, and we also interviewed with different postmasters in the area. Like I said, that was back in 2015. So now I know that it's different. You're only necessarily going to interview with the postmaster that you're going to be hiring in with. So I think that's the way the process goes now. And it's not necessarily a full-fledged interview. I think they are more or less like meeting you and letting you know what the job entails. Okay. So relocation. That's why I spoke about that, because if you did get hired in a location that may not be ideal for you, maybe there's a further drive than what you would be comfortable in, I would still kind of think about or consider taking it if you have transportation, because once something comes available in an office where you may be wanting to be in a city, or that you maybe wanting to be, you can try to transfer to that office or apply for different offices, and you're already in the system. You're already an employee. So that's just, a word of advice. Next, career growth. If you want to grow in the Postal Service, I believe that there is plenty of opportunity, but you do have to be willing to move around. Maybe not actually move, but you may be having to drive a further distance if you're wanting to grow, like as far as like going into being an EAS employee, changing offices, being a postmaster, being a supervisor, things like that. You may have to go outside of where your comfort level is as far as a commute. Okay. Number 7, being accessed out of the office. Just because you get hired in a certain office does not mean that that's the office that you're going to work in every day. And I always want to, hey, my package is here, yay, and now I can return it because today is my daughter's birthday and it was her birthday supplies. But Yes, you may be accessed out of the office if another office needs the help, hence being a sub. Um, I know sometimes this is hard. I know personally for me, I was not interested in going to a different office, but that was something that I had to do, especially if I wanted the hours, if I wanted to work, if I wanted the money, I would have to go to a different office, whatever office was available. And sometimes that would mean you don't know the territory, you don't know, the route, and that is all going to be a thing. But once you learn how to carry, you can pretty much carry mail anywhere. Once you learn how to do it, you can pretty much do it anywhere, and they know that. So they will send you to different offices if you are needed. Okay. Just be You've been forewarned. Okay. So it happens. Number 8, evaluations, IIs, and your probationary period. So most of your time, the probationary period is 90 days, right? So based on the routes evaluations, they are wanting you, most of the routes are evaluated at 8 hours, right? So they are wanting you to get up to speed to be able to carry the route in 8 hours. Of course, they would love for you to carry it and run and get through it faster than that, but that's what most of the routes are evaluated at. And you will see some routes that are huge, and you are like, there is no way. There's no way. How can I get all of this done in 8 hours? So it may take you longer, but they definitely don't want a carrier that is going to be there taking 12, 13, 14 hours on one route every single day. Like, that's when you'll run into the evaluations, okay? Because they're going to be trying to figure out, what are you out there doing? Why are you, why can't you get it done? Things like that. Now, II's investigative interviews, most time those investigative interviews are going to come by way of your attendance. Just try not to miss. Try not to call in. Like I said, I know that there is not a great work-life balance, especially in the beginning. So, but just try your hardest not to have to do that, not to have to call out, not to have to leave, and all of those things, because those could cause you to have to go through an investigative interview. Okay. Next, number 9, just be ready to work. And that's what I've kind of talked about the whole time. That's really what they want. They just want people that are going to show up to work and understand that that is the job. And it can be very overwhelming. The work-life balance gets better once you are career, because you have the option to kind of say, hey, I want the overtime or I don't want the overtime. So I think that it does get better, and it gets greater later. I'm just saying that. Say that. Just stick with it. I think that especially if you are thinking about applying, I just encourage you, just stick with it. Like, don't get overwhelmed. I see so many people that come in and may think that this is going to be easy, and I'm going to be able to have holidays off and blah blah blah. You don't get that in the beginning. So just stick with it. Okay. Number 10, where to apply. There are so many scammers out there, so many websites that will tell you, oh, we'll get you hired, we'll help you take the test, study for the test, blah blah blah. Do not fall for any of it. Do not fall for any of it. USPS.com/careers. That's it. That's all. That's the only website that you need to go to, period. Now, I did see the job posting when I applied on Indeed. I do believe that they have the Indeed link that goes directly to that website, but that is the only website I ever give out to anyone. USPS.com/careers. Anything else, I can't tell you. Okay, just do not get scammed by these websites that will tell you apply here, apply here, apply here. We'll get a postal job. Blah blah blah. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay. I can only speak from my experience. Has it always been easy? Absolutely not. Okay. 8 years at any job, you're not gonna have, it's not gonna always be easy. It's not gonna always be you're not always even going to be appreciative of it. But I'm telling you now, just from my experience, I'm grateful for my job. It's given me a good life. I have a great life. I'm not complaining about anything. It's worth it. Just stick with it, especially if you're thinking about applying or if you're new. Stick with it, okay? I hope that you guys got some good information, some good tips on applying for the post office. I wish you much luck, many blessings, and if you have any other questions, please drop them in the comments. I would look forward to answering your questions. And also, I will make, possibly, if you guys want me to, a separate video explaining more of the crafts. So the city carrier craft, the rural carrier craft, the art craft, the PSC or clerk craft. I will make individual videos because it's so much information to take in that I definitely couldn't do it here in one sitting. So go forth and be great. Do it. Apply. I'm out.